Lovely sunny day here in Ireland. Can you believe it? Great to see you too, Sylvia. And I really enjoyed the talk before there, Thelma. That was really excellent, interesting, and practical. So I can tell you that my talk is going to be much less practical. I'm not going to give you any tips. I'm going to throw a few ideas at you. And yes, Nelly, I have met you before. And I'm going to talk about what is really my passion, which is the seaside, and some connections I've made between the seaside and what I do for a living, and another passion, which is, of course, English language teaching. So my talk is called ELT Flotsam. Flotsam being stuff that's floating around in the ocean being this wonderful place that is so like education, that has this great beauty, that is wide, that is deep, that has weird, wonderful, strange creatures floating around in it, just like the world of English language teaching. Now I'm going to change the slide here, but you can see before I change, you can see that this is the view of Dublin Bay. Dublin Bay, and within a bay there is a bay called Doldrum Bay. And Doldrum Bay is where I spend a lot of my time picking up this wonderful rubbish. Now most of the rubbish is horrible and yucky, and every so often I find something that I think, well, that's cool, I'll just keep that, and I bring it home. So my wife is really pleased with my collection. She's a Japanese lady who loves picking up bits of rubbish and bringing them home. I kid you. So anyway, I have all this stuff, and so I look at it, and these are my treasures. And in my presentation, I'd like to make a few connections between the things I've found and this world of English language teaching. So please bear with me. I hope you can take something from the things I'm going to show you. I'm going to change the slide now just to see if this works. And it didn't. Great. Okay. No. Oh, hang on. Are you doing that for me, Rob? Okay. Sorry. Well, I'm going to just change the slide when I change. You're doing it, Rob. Okay. Okay. So I'll say new slide every time. So one of the great motivations for us as teachers, and something that we face a lot, is frustration. It can be all sorts of frustration. Frustration because there is so much to do. So frustration because we have heavy loads to lift. Frustration because there is such a jumble of stuff. There's such a jumble of materials. There's such a jumble of ideas. There's such a jumble of work for us to do. And it's so tangled up, and it's so impenetrable sometimes, and it's sometimes just plain overwhelming. But we've got to start somewhere, and we start, and then we, Rob, change slide. We look for some messages, and these messages are really what underpins what we do. This is what we're all about. We're all about messages, and sometimes the messages can be very conflicting messages, like this message in a bottle I received top left. Message in a bottle. Wow, wonderful. Opened the bottle, excited. Oh my goodness, I found a message in a bottle. What did the message say? Piss off. Oh, actually don't. I love you. I think this message was possibly written by a teenager. So this is what we're facing. We're facing conflicting messages. The ones in the top middle, messages from, there's another bottle I found, tickets rolled up, which came all the way from Greenland, messages from afar. I was able to send those messages, send those tickets back to the town in the west of Greenland where they had come from. And I was able to make a connection with the people there and the community there, because people were excited to think that these tickets that had been come all the way across the ocean and all the way to Ireland. So we can make these sort of connections. Some of our messages might be tragic. The flowers left at a suicide spot. Some of the messages are just quite boring, and the shopping list. But all of them are messages that can be used to inspire as we go on to our next slide. I learned a word from Scott Thornbury when I went to his talk at IATEFL, and the word was undergirded. U-N-D-E-R, I think G-I-R-D-E-D, undergirded. And it was a lovely word that I took from his talk. undergirded, the structure of what we're doing. Whether we like it or not, we're dealing with structures. We're dealing with structures of language. We're dealing with institutional structures. We're dealing with structures all the time, and our relationship with those structures is important. Some of those structures are internal structures, both personal and within the institutions we work in. Some of those structures support. Some of those structures are external structures. Some of those structures are like skeletons. Some of them are like the gunnels of a ship as we go along. And as we go along to our next slide, we look at that shoulder bone and we wonder, what is it the shoulder bone of? And we think of how important it is that everything we do has some sort of function. And we don't forget that the students that are learning from us are learning because what we're teaching them has a function. That will give them, it will empower them. It might empower them to suck up information. It might empower them to communicate. That's an old telephone top center. It might empower them to catch food and not not, I'm not joking, it might empower them to catch food, because we must remember that many of our students are very much going to be using English in a really practical way that will have an economic effect on what they're doing. Some of the functions might be to protect our feet and heads. Again, a real practical function, but it's all about empowerment. As we go on to the next slide, which is to remember to give what we do a bit of bling, to make it attractive. Everyone says, especially with young learners, materials should be attractive. I don't believe that. I think with old learners, materials should be attractive. With all learners, materials and what we're doing should have a bit of excitement, a bit of bling, a bit of celebration, a bit of cultural bling, a bit of fun. And it should be playful, it should have emotional connections, it should be beautiful, and it should inspire through the through its visual, and that is so important as we go on to the next visual slide. The next visual slide is all about wonder. Now, one of the things that really depresses me when I was teaching, particularly in Japan, was that you'd show people natural things. Now I'm thinking my university students, they'd say kimochi warui, no, they'd say yada, kimochi warui, or which means kind of ew, and natural things. I think everything that's wrong in the world is because of the disconnect that's happened between us and nature. Everything that's going wrong, and that's my personal belief. So I want us as educators to work on that, because I think that needs work. A lot of our students are in very urbanized environments. A lot of our students don't have much time outside. A lot of our students don't have the have lost that connection, and I think we should be bringing stuff into our classrooms. We should be bringing dead man's fingers. That's what those things top left are, dead men's fingers. Don't bring them into your, not real ones, but those are a kind of a flora. But look at these wonderful things, and we look at these wonderful things as we go on to the next slide, which is about the mystery. So don't answer all the questions. You know this. You know that we want to fascinate. We want to draw people in to the mystery, to the stories. And the stories might be about, where does that leg come from? What's the story? What you know, isn't that interesting? Rather than just giving the information and giving the answers, we create mystery. We are the masters of mystery. We're like wizards in our classrooms as we unfold the mystery. Now that's getting pretty random, but yeah, I think it's important. What is that thing next to my dog? I don't know what it is. I found it on the beach. It's a very large, heavy object. I couldn't lift it up. What's that green stuff? What's it made of? The life buoy, the castaway life buoy, and then the fossil in the middle. But most importantly, the onion. What is that onion doing there? As we go on to the next and second last slide, we remember teamwork. What a great thing Rob has done bringing us all together. Well done, Rob. This is just a wonderful piece of teamwork. Fantastic. We're all here together, and that's when the magic happens. When you ask for help, the magic happens. And when you do stuff with people, the magic happens. As we go on to the last slide, we say, yes, let's have a can-do attitude. That's the most important thing of all. We can do it. Yes, we can. And I'm going to ask you a favor, which is to please tweet a tweet which contains the hashtag Doldrum Bay. And if you were able to say, Doldrum Bay is so beautiful, let's look after it, or watching from somewhere and learning about Doldrum Bay. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed meeting you, and I'm going to be cut off now, so goodbye, everybody. Hey, bye.